Is there a difference between wizard and warlock? Where did the name warlock originate from? I appreciate you, bro. Yosef, stay up. Just Michael, I appreciate that, brother. Good question, man. Good question. So this is also something I recently talked about on my Patreon channel. The difference between a wizard, a warlock, and I think I talked about a shaman. I've talked about a few things, right? And all these titles are real. So a wizard is a wise person. They're a person that deals more with incantations, wizards, right? So wizard don't deal a lot with spells. They deal more with incantations. That's why if you watch Lord of the Rings and Gandalf, he was fighting Solomon, I think his guy was, the guy with the all white on, and they were just having a verbal match. They were like, one was on a mountain and the other one was on a tower, and they just were having their hands out, chanting these words of power. They were chanting these words at each other. And one guy from all the way across the world, from him chanting words in the tower, he was making boulders fall down on Gandalf and them as they was walking up the mountain, just from chanting words. You know what I'm saying? And he was trying to block it with his words. You see what I'm saying? So that's a wizard. Those were wizards in that show. They're big on incantation. A warlock is a person that works with spirits directly, and they tend to have control over spirits. They work with any type of spirit you could think of, an angel, a demon, the dead. You know, they tend to control and work with mystical. How can I say this? Mystical forces to a certain extent, but just think of them as beings that control spirits, right? Warlocks. They can send spirits after you. They can control spirits, all right? A sorcerer, let's talk about a sorcerer too, right? A sorcerer, so we talk about what a wizard is, a wise person that works with incantations. A warlock is a person that works with spirits, right? And they control spirits, right? And a warlock is like a male witch in so many words. It's another word for a witch, but it's a male witch. They call them warlocks, right? And a sorcerer, right, is a person that works directly with mystical powers, right? And they get a lot of power from mystical beings, sorcerers, right? They get a lot of power from mystical beings. That's why you see Dr. Strange, everything he uses, he calls it the shield of this person and the bands of Sidorak. You know what I mean? He uses the bands of Sidorak to do this, and the Sidorak is a demon, in case y'all didn't know that. So most people don't know this. Doctor Strange gets all his powers from a demon named Sidorak. If you know, shout out to all my people out there that know about the comic books. You know what I mean? Y'all know what I'm talking about. So when he shot, if you watch the Avengers Endgame and he shot the bands at Thanos, and he covered them in all these bands, those were the bands of Sidorak. Very powerful. Sidorak is the same being that gave the Juggernaut his powers, right? Sidorak is the same being that gave the Juggernaut his powers. All right, let me stop talking about that because I get excited and I start talking about comic books and y'all get me going. So I'm moving.
Magic, I can do magic. 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 When I open up my mouth, I can move masses. Black magic on the beat, turn it to a classic.